call meeting of Ramsey County Commission order, please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes.
I move to approve. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Being none, motion carried. Approval of the bills.
Regular one, and then a law enforcement, is that what it is?
Yeah, law enforcement one came in yesterday, and that's the list of additional ones since your packet.
I'll move to approve. Second. There's a motion and a second to approve the bills.
Anything out of order, Andy?
Roll call, please.
Fritz,
Aye.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye. Motion carried. Approve financial report. Everything looks good, Ken?
Yes.
I have one question on the 2009 flood buyout thing. We spent we had 115,000 in the account, but we only had like 15 budgeted. We spent 68. I'm just kind of curious what happened. Where the money went.
Well, Kevin and or Paul could answer that, could you, Paul?
I guess Kevin knows that.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. I mean, I just saw that.
Yeah, it's, it's been like that.
Yeah, we must have had to pay down a road thing or something, some road, township.
I'll ask.
09, huh?
Yeah, I think it was 2009,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah.
Because we had, we always budget a certain amount, but there's $115,000 in the actual fund still, and we paid out 68,000.
Yeah.
So we
Is
got the
that
money
one
there.
where we,
I remember we paid something.
but we,
I don't recall what it was.
Remember we talked.
I was gonna say, I think it's money that you guys had submitted for, you guys initially paid out bills for whatever road projects, and then money just came back in, but it came back in at a later date. Maybe that's why it's
I don't know, I just
sitting
saw it.
at
I
a
was kind of
deposit
curious.
account.
Caught my eye more than
I'll ask them.
The FEMA advance ones sometimes too.
Depends.
It might be,
I don't know how much advancing they did though for '09,
First name, female.
but Kevin would know more than I would on that person.
I'll check on it.
Is there a motion to approve the financial reports? Move to approve. There's a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye. Motion carried. Approve treasurer's checks. The motion, is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And motion carried. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Being none, motion carried. Stacy Tweed.
Good morning. We're still averaging over 100 people a month. Last month we had our fall conference for veteran service officers across the state. We had an extremely interesting 2-week period there with the request for open records. Some of you might be aware of that happened. And that was addressed at our conference, and we found out there was one person that was causing the ruckus, and it will be dealt with. So we're all on the up and up on everything. So everything that they requested that we could provide them, we did. so that's all taken care of. The conference was your typical conference except for that little exciting episode that we were going through. So, that's about all I got.
Just for my own understanding, what was the nature of the requests?
You gotta watch what I say. We have a former service officer, lost her job. She used to cover 4 counties in the southwest, tried to cover 5, went about it the wrong way, and was dismissed from her position. She was very upset about it, and then since that time, which has been 3 or 4 years or so going, she's been out to get Stark County Commission, Golden Valley County Service Officer, Lonnie Langen, the State Commissioner, the members of the COVA, which is the organization that takes veterans topics to the legislature. And there's been some stuff going on for a few years that hasn't been pleasant for a lot of people. And then this fall it spilled over onto the whole state. Every county had a different request of one kind or another. And my name had come up because my cell phone records were in the commissioner's records. Other VSOs had, due to whatever comments they'd made over a period of time, they had different requests. And so it got contentious. They even had come to the point where they had informed the hotel security, Fargo Police Department, if these people were to show up, they were prepared to have them removed. So it's gotten out of hand. I'd address it privately if you'd like to.
No, I just appreciate the,
Our
I could
state-
teach you
but our
some-
state's attorney took care of
Yep.
the response.
good.
And that's what we had to do with each county, was that each state's attorney had to get involved. So, and I wouldn't doubt that this isn't the end of it.
They were requesting records, is that what you said?
They wanted my credentials, my training, what I've been through for training.
They were questioning that?
Yeah. At one point, the one person that was doing the most of the issues through Nelson County, she requested my cell phone records, which state's attorney over there put a stop to that immediately. But because she had made reference that because my cell phone number was in the commissioner's, evidently they got the commissioner's emails and cell phone records.
Nelson County?
Yeah,
Really?
she
Now, they didn't
wanted
get
my cell,
emails.
huh?
They didn't get my emails.
No, they're, be
Serious?
careful.
I'm serious. Careful? I don't care.
Okay,
Doesn't bother me a bit.
okay.
They can look at mine all they want, they'll never do it.
But we're pretty much.
There's a reason I don't use it.
Okay,
That's the precise
there
reason.
you go. Good point. Very good point.
I learned that many years ago. Attorney General called the West Fargo School Board on the carpet, 7 of them. And they were talking amongst themselves on their
Mm-hmm,
emails.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a warning. Yeah.
I looked at Swan Tech then. I said, you never have to worry about that happening on this board, will you? You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get caught conversing about county business on emails.
Yeah.
Because they have the right to go in there, into your personal ones, and everything, and look, when you're a public official.
Yeah.
You have nothing that you can stop them with.
And that's where I think the commissioner got burnt, was the amount of, or different types of communication he was using.
Sure.
And then in the meantime, he gets chosen to be the, on the committee for the secretary of the VA. He's an advisory member now to Secretary Shulkin, which just happened in the last couple weeks. So, going through all this crap, and then he gets a national appointment.
Whoever's the head of this group that's putting these problems up for the counties, they knew they could catch people
Yeah,
conversing on emails about county business.
yeah. So, that's all I have.
Any questions for Stacy?
Nice job. A lot of veterans coming in.
Oh, it's, yesterday was nuts.
Um,
11 in the morning, I mean, not 11 o'clock, I had 11 people in the office in the morning yesterday.
Good.
No, it's not good. It's too hectic at times, but, yeah, it's busy.
Are they pretty congenial when they come in?
I've never had anybody go over the deep end. You'll know the guys that have the problems that could, and we get training on how to soften the information and deal with them, and then or you stand up and escort them to the door and then look for that panic button wherever the heck that's at.
Really? I worked hard on that.
I'm gonna keep you close to the front door.
Yeah, it's a short walk, it's a short walk, that's right. No, that's what I got.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
I do want to make one comment. I'm utilizing Stacy for my mother-in-law, and I've been very impressed with his professionalism. You know, I didn't know what his job actually entailed until he started all this file and this file and this paper, and all. It's very impressive. So, thank you, Stacy.
And your mother-in-law's a simple thing to do too.
Yeah,
so-
well, yeah, I can't imagine the hard ones.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Kristen?
Good morning. I don't have as much as Stacy did. All the building county inspections are completed for 2017. I'm working on getting every Ramsey County employee to take their pre-recorded mandatory training for the year. It's only a 45-minute recording session, and Roger took it just the other day and enjoyed it thoroughly, didn't you? He brought popcorn. Tomorrow, after the workday is completed, I will be heading to Bismarck. The state asked me to come and sit on their hazard mitigation committee to score applications as part of my role as being the president with our Emergency Management Association. And they will also do all the reimbursement for hotel per diem and mileage, so there will be no other expense like that for the county here, for our budget. I was asked by a couple of different employees to do a course, or bring someone in to do a course on distracted driving. There is an individual that will do it through the North Dakota Safety Council. There is a cost for the course. It's about $675 plus mileage for the course materials and for the instructor to come up and teach it. Is that something that you all as a board would be okay if I were to bring someone in for that type of a course? It's a one-day course.
Have you checked with Association of Counties?
Yep.
Ryan Gellner, and,
Yeah, they don't do anything higher. I asked them first.
because I know he does one for the high schools on distracted driving.
I contacted Mike Wolf, and he said there is no one at the association level that will come in and do it.
Really?
Because I thought that would be my best bet, and he's the one that steered me to the North Dakota Safety Council.
Okay.
So I'm taking him at face value, I guess, because I didn't know. I can double check though about the Ryan Gellner, but if not, is that still something that would be okay with?
I think regardless, I think it'd be a good course to have.
Isn't he doing something in Langdon?
He's doing a train-the-trainer course, Ryan is, up in Langdon for that teen distracted driving course. And supposedly, according to him, it's, one of the most influential
It's been a very good
courses,
class.
a very positive course that communities can deliver to their high school age drivers. But I think it would be a good reminder for all of us drivers.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure exactly what Ryan's role is with that, but I thought at our conference that we went to last winter that he had stated that he was available for those type of.
I'll double check with him,
Yeah.
for sure.
That is email.
How long course is it? Like one night or something?
Yeah, like, I'm assuming it 2 hours, I don't know for sure, I haven't got details. I wanted to make sure it was okay with you all before I hired someone to come up here and we paid them to do this course, if I can. If Ryan Geller isn't able to do it, I would like to bring someone else in. Especially for those that, you know, well, drive period, but drive county vehicles. Let's see. Oh, yes, also, a week or 2 weeks ago, we had the generator tested. I asked Roger to come in and visit a little bit about that since he kind of took care of it, he kind of handled it and met with the individual that came.
Generator works fine. Just found out that it doesn't run quite as much as we thought it might. It runs the basement. It runs what it was designed to run. It runs the basement, everything down there. And since the breaker box for the hallway and stairway lights are in the basement, the lights in the hallway and stairway exit lights remain on. And about 10 years ago, we did get wired in for the public health refrigerators for their vaccines and the main server up in the state's attorney's office, so that has power all the time. But offices here, they do not. So the upside of that is, if we lose power, we still have power to pop and candy machines downstairs.
So it's fine if we want to keep it as it is, if it's something you'd want to look into to increase it to run the building as a whole. I know a number of years ago, there was a grant available with a 20% cost share. That grant is now ceased. There isn't one out there for anything for generators. I, of course, will keep my eye open if that's something you want to look forward to in the future of replacing the whole unit to be able to back up the entire courthouse as a whole. At this time, there isn't anything grant dollar available, and it's around 35 to 38,000 to for a whole new generator for the capacity that we would need for the whole courthouse.
Who gave you that figure?
A company out of Montana, like TWI Enterprises, I think is the company. I'd have to double check.
Who did we have check this generator out, Roger?
Bergstrom was here, and then they had somebody come from Grand Works also. So, you know, in all the years I've been here, we've never shut down because we were out of power. Although one time, a few years ago, it did go out over noon hour. And even, you know, even if we got a generator to run the whole building, in that, if we have a power outage in that second or two it takes a generator to kick in, most people on their computers are probably going to shut off. So anything they might be in, but.
I don't think we need to do that.
Then there's no, you know, even with a battery backup, there's a little bit of an electrical bump there that I think most computers still, it's all shut down. Because it still takes a second or so to switch over.
We still have, you know, what we have will work for an
Yeah.
emergency.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean,
why-
it runs the
Tornado,
heat. It runs the heat. it
blizzards.
runs- Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they run the heat.
yeah.
And that's why the whole basement was wired in, just for the backup emergency operations center if there's power outages or failures across the county or across the city.
We don't want to take the place of Otter Tails.
No.
It's fine to do what it does.
The number is super eyes open if grant funding.
If something comes available though, I'll bring it up for
Yeah,
sure.
at that point.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
I guess we run backup power supplies on our computers at work, and when the batteries are new, they'll run for a few minutes, you know, enough time to close out stuff and shut it down. But, you know, after the batteries sit for 3-4 years, they're junk.
Yeah,
That's within the computer then.
No, it's a separate, like a power strip. with
it's a
battery.
power strip, yeah, it's a big power.
I don't know what they cost, but if you needed some for certain people that were.
120 bucks, 150 bucks.
There are
not too bad.
several of those here in the building.
I know my computer usually does not glitch out, it doesn't shut down with my backup battery. and that surge protector, and then being downstairs. My computer usually will stay on, not always, but 9 times out of 10. That's all I have.
Any questions for Kristen? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ryan.
Bill Otis.
I got a half an hour with. Obviously, we got a little snow on the ground, but we're about approximately a third left of the corn harvest. About. Got a little hay to get home yet on that side of the picture, but everything's looking pretty good out in that part of the world. We do have an issue with the Ivan and the armory. For some reason, it's cutting off during programming. People have looked at it. We are still looking into it. I'm not so sure that we should even have it anymore. We have so many options like Blackboard and Zoom and all that we hook up to the computer that's so reliable that I'm not sure we need Ivan. We're talking about that. There's going to be a maintenance fee to be considered, and they were talking that for us to get back online with that agreement would cost us last year's and this year's agreement, and that'd be about $3,000. Don't be alarmed, we're not done yet, so we'll see how that goes. Just to let you know that there's been an issue with the Ivan in Armory. You probably heard at the state level there's been some issues with higher ed funding, and that also affects us. How that's all going to come down, we're not sure yet. In extension, they've got about $4 million to make up. There's been some cuts already. You may have heard that there may also be some further cuts of counties with not many per population that might look at doing something different, whatever that is. We don't know. I don't know that we'll know in the next 6 months yet. We may, I don't know that. But there are some issues at that higher ed level because of funding, and like I said, I'm sure all of you probably heard about that. Roundup is coming. That will be the 9th and 10th, so be prepared. And I'm hoping it's okay with the blessing of the commission to have that south door open again. I don't see any problems that we had last year, but just to make sure that we have it on record that it's okay.
This one over here.
Yeah, the south one over there.
Do you open this one too, the north one?
No, we can,
I think you should.
but we did not, but we can. If that's something you agree with, we'll do that.
Got one open, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And let's see, lastly, Harvest Bowl Friday. The county egg rip this year happens to be my youngest son, Thomas. They're going to be recognized Friday night, go to a football game and tour the dome and do a little tailgate on Saturday. And it's for anybody that's either had family involved or been there yourself, it's a really fun night. It's very formal. You get introduced, you get some speakers, some fine dining, and the next day they treat you really good. So that's going on this Friday night and Saturday. Hopefully the Bison can pull it out Saturday. Yeah, it looks good last weekend.
Who's they playing this weekend?
South Dakota State.
South Dakota.
So, yeah. Yeah, last weekend
They don't
was,
want to play state again. So might get really ugly.
yeah. So, bright side of things, cattle markets bumped up a little bit this last week, 10 days. Correct, Commissioner Brown?
6 weeks to 2 months is a little bit.
Yeah,
And you can contract fat cattle for $1.30 in February.
yeah. So that's a promising note.
Yes.
Still moving some hay across the countryside, still working with state ag about this noxious weed in the hay list, and when this hay is getting moved across the multi-state area, trying to keep some of these very, very dangerous weeds out of our area. Luckily, we don't have hay coming our way, luckily, but you know, once it gets close, it's easier to get closer then. Any questions?
Bill, that higher ed financing, that won't affect your 18 budget, correct?
No.
So we should, if there's a change in percentages, we should be able to budget that come next budget cycle.
That is my assumption.
Okay.
When I said no, I say that pretty haphazardly because things have changed a lot they think everything's cool, and the next month there's something that's changed.
Yeah.
Who's putting all the heat on? Fargo, the extension agents?
No, actually,
Office?
it's SBARE. SBARE, S-B-A-R-E, it stands for Sustainable Research Agricultural Systems Education or something, but they're actually the powers that look over the research and extension side, just that part of it with funding. Legislators are looking over all of higher ed.
Yeah, extension has their own budget line,
Yeah.
and they were cut
Yeah,
separate.
and research.
Yeah,
Are you
research.
familiar who's on that legislative committee?
On that committee,
Yeah.
one of them's our local one, is Joanne Rodenbacher, however you say her last name, Baker, okay. Mike Belts, pardon me?
What legislators are on there?
Oh boy, I don't recall. I don't recall. But they've done a thorough review of extension, for example. They put a work committee together and did a thorough review. And the last we heard, and you know, I say this haphazardly because we don't know, but they're talking about taking the lowest 6 counties in the state population-wise and asking the commission to think of something different.
Consolidating.
Or coming up and taking care of the salary or something. But we don't know what that is. We're kind of lost in the woods here a little bit. Our leadership has been talking about this, but, you know, they don't get down to giving points and, you know, exact details of how it's supposed to work. But time will tell.
I would watch that legislative committee, their intern committee meetings. They're the ones that are gonna make decisions and what they recommend to the full body of the legislative
Yep.
session, which,
Yep.
you know, in reality isn't very far away, really. So,
You know, I don't need to keep you, but one of the worst things that happened to us was what?
oh, absolutely, no question.
You know, we had all this money and everybody wanted a piece of the pie, well, they added to the pie and then oil went away. And we still needed that much money to sustain what they had previously spent, and
The thing about it, the counties are gonna catch the ball. It's
Yep.
happening in law enforcement, and jails and
Yep.
everything, you know, incarceration fees.
you know, locally for us, I don't just remember the year in Candy, maybe you can recall, but we did a mill levy vote, remember that, about 6, 7, 8 years ago? And we went to the full 4 mills that we were allowed, and we're not using that, so, you know, as far as that part goes, you know, we can sustain that.
You got a little cushion there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Questions anymore?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And to answer your question, Ed, SBARE is a 16-member board, of which 2 of them are legislators. Tracy Bowe and Jerry Klein are both on it. And then it's just, I think it's appointed people, you know, individuals from different areas around the state, as well as Ken Grafton, who's Vice President for Ag Affairs, Commissioner Goring, Dean Brashani, and then the Extension Director. Yeah, Tracy Bowe's good too, so it'll be good talking about it. They've got a meeting coming up too. But
Like Bill said about the 4 mills, you know,
30th of November.
I think we're using about 3, do you remember, Candy? Thunder. So we got some cushion there.
Roughly like 2.5, 2.47,
We're still looking at.
I think is like.
Bring that ballpark.
Yeah, they're gonna have to make up funding, so it's gonna be, 19 can be a little.
There's no question we're trying to figure this out.
Right.
Okay. Next would be Kevin, but he's not here, so I'm assuming Paul is gonna. He said no, Paul's not gonna, okay, I thought Paul had information for us.
No,
So then.
it's this year.
We better pay that close,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta pay a bill for those,
rear tires and needs and.
We'll just go through it. Number 1, the Cove Road isn't finished. I know nothing else has happened with the Heritage Center roof.
Never heard nothing there.
No.
Yeah, we're waiting on the second estimate.
Yeah, and, you know, like Ed said at the last meeting, pay somebody that kind of money and they don't know if it's gonna work. that's just
Right.
So we gotta wait until we get the
Yeah.
second one back.
the tin on the roof. I know they've started, but that's all I know about that. So I need a motion to pay close construction.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to pay.
Both on the same motion or do them separate?
Yeah.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye, motion carried.
And just to be clear, that's on the Ramsey County, Cavalier County line road for close construction, 18,630.
And then he's got an invoice for chips for next year's chip seal project from Strata. He needs a motion for that also.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye, motion carried. And then it looks like he's looking for some tires for the graders.
Move to approve.
So he's got two bids, so we're approving the low bid, correct?
Yes.
That looks like good year for
The low bid,
17,000.
17,165.
Are there two bids?
Yeah, he had an update.
He had an update. So
The
it's
big-
about
yeah.
$700 lower than Firestone.
These are Goodyear tires, huh?
Yep.
Cool. Of course, you take the Firestone, do what you want. For that one, I
There was a motion and a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's, Mr. Commissioner Brown, is there issues with Goodyear tires, or would we be better off spending the extra money for the Firestones?
Let's not. Kevin says this, that's fine. I wonder what's on there. You know, he knows it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not
Leave it
sure.
alone, leave it alone.
I'm sure that's what came with them, because they're fairly new graders, aren't they?
Oh, 3 or 4 years old.
5 years now.
5, are they?
Oh, wow.
Well, no,
Three.
well, you bought them
Were you on Adam?
I wasn't on yet, you guys bought them right before I got on,
Yes.
so probably
4, probably.
fall of 14.
Okay.
There's a lot of miles though. We're on the road every day.
Yeah.
There was a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye, motion carried. And the last one is just information we put in bids. We have no unfinished business. We'll use her when we get down to portfolios and announcements. She's got nothing to do but visit with us today. We got a captive audience. Going to new business. Approved health club credit for 2018.
Just moving up for.
Nope, it's staying the same.
What is it?
Where it's, you complete 12 daily workouts and it's $20. But it's now changed where, that amount will be added to your W-2 at the end of the year.
Move to approve.
The tax on it? We're working on it. Come on, guys. Second.
That'd be a Blue Cross thing.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Being none, motion carried.
First break for working on it.
Approved raffle permits.
So moved.
These raffle permits,
Yes.
One of them's for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Do we know what that charity is for or what they're doing? And it looks like they're just having a one-day deal. The 17th of February. Whereas the Lake Region Search and Rescue started in November, goes till June of next year.
I can't remember.
They've
We've asked that
done it
question
for-
before because they've had that every year.
For every year.
Yeah, called the Sportsman's Club too, it's just a one-day one too.
Does it have a permit on there, permit number? I can't see it.
Yep,
Yep,
Yeah.
right in the corner,
yeah.
Where?
top right hand.
Oh, four,
Well,
four,
on the-
17.
On the papers, it says fishing derby,
Oh.
maintain lake access in the winter.
If they got that permit number, it's legal.
Yeah.
I heard
They
you
did- they
there
did
lately,
grant
yeah.
for-
It says site Woodland Resort, and it's 17th of February, we'll probably put them.
Right at
close to
Sugarfest.
Sugarfest.
Rachel, you have any idea when Sugarfest is?
Shiverfest,
Must be right around that time.
It's-
it's right around there, it's usually around February 20th, so whatever that weekend is. I can look if you want for it.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's usually on the around the
Some
20th.
raffle fishes.
Fisher, yeah.
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 I don't know.
Are the other four for one, is that, that's what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yep.
Should go, you get a real charge out of it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll get that permit number. It's much of you
I think he said that they've done it for,
Yeah, we've seen it every year.
Yep.
yeah.
wonder who they're using. That's our permit number though, right? This isn't a state permit number.
No, that's our permit.
Yeah, it's our.
Okay. You don't get their, if they're using a state permit number?
No, they wouldn't, we wouldn't have a state number because they're going, it's in the county.
It should. And maybe it show up.
But it doesn't give anywhere on the application for,
Nonprofit number, see? They gotta use somebody's.
I know if you
The
go back,
state, the state gets 5% of it. On your total proceeds.
does the organization presently have a state gaming license? No.
It's all right, I'm sure.
I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, it came up and we found out what it was, but I don't remember. I remember asking about it.
State permit number?
No, what it was all about, and it was one of those things that's been there forever, was right.
And we've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, Woodland, I would assume it has something to do with lake access.
I think it has something to do with that fishing tournament, that little kid fishing tournament.
Yeah, that would be.
I made the motion, right? Andy?
Yes,
So we need a
That's
motion
good.
and a second, we need a second.
is that where they do, like they give them a fishing rod and a,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, being that motion carried.
I'll check that.
Approve increase in flexible spending for 2018.
Oh, skip one.
Do letters transfer
Where's
first?
the transfer?
Oh. Approve letters of transfer.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Being none, motion carried.
And the reason for 2 is Christie didn't get me last month.
Oh.
So I just did 2 separate, so I didn't know what ones we were.
Approve the increase for flexible spending.
It's part of the employee contribution for flex spending, it's at 2,600 and they're asking to approve an increase of $50.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, being none, motion carried. And we'll just call it visitor and delegations. Any visitors? Any comments from?
Do you want me to go on now or portfolios, or what do you want?
Yeah, you can go now.
Go right ahead. Well, I can give you a little for those, like, update what's going on. So, the flex funding program has been put on hold. So I actually moved into more of a marketing phase than anything. And some of the things that we've been marketing is, We've got Renaissance Zone with their meeting today at 11, and what we found with that is we weren't utilizing it. We've had it here for 15 years, but when prior to us taking this initiative to start looking at it, we'd only had 2 meetings in the 4 years that I'd been here, so we really didn't have a whole lot of action on it. Meeting with the state representative for that program, Ricky Rourke, she gave us a lot of information that we didn't even realize that was at our access, meaning even if you're leasing a downtown building, like for example Lucky Nails, they can actually get North Dakota income tax exemption if they apply for it, as long as they do it before they sign a contract for the building. So there's definitely things, so you don't necessarily even have to be a building owner. We're trying to get that information out today to contractors, bank representatives, financial planners, real estate agents, anybody who talks to people prior to their projects. And real estate agents, so when people are shopping in, for different locations, that maybe that's a piece that they'll consider, because it works for both commercial and residential buildings as well. Plus, if you're an owner, you get 5 years property tax exemption alongside income tax exemption for 5 years. So it's a program that we really need to start utilizing, and hopefully will boost some development taking place. We additionally are at the point where we can expand by 11 blocks. So that's not finalized, but we're hoping to get some input today on exactly what blocks we should for sure be including in those 11 that we're expanding. Additionally, we approved a facade improvement loan for $10,000 for it's CA Ingen Properties, which is Ingen Law Firm that purchased the building right next to the new Swinsup Law Firm. So that'll be really nice long downtown area there. Additionally, UAS Industry is probably our biggest promotion that we're looking at right now. I went to the UAV Expo in Las Vegas last week and was able to promote what we have going on with the college. Our college is utilizing the UAV industry with their peace officer training, their WIN program, and also their precision ag programs. They're in the beginning stages of developing a certification to add on to those degrees, so that when you come out as a peace officer, you have the ability to come out just as a peace officer, but then you also have the ability to stay on. They're thinking possibly an extra semester and taking a focused concentration on UAV or drone utilization, and so then you would come out with a certification for that. They're also working with NDSCS in Wapaton to create the same certification for their civil engineering program that they have. Additionally, we have been working on putting together a proposed UAV park for on our property at the airport. So we have, and I brought some of the information here. So we've got, I have enough of these. This is what it would look like. The top portion would be access through our current industrial park, would be for larger developments, 4 to 5 acres. So it could be, this smaller section here would be located up against the airport, and that would be for smaller developments. At this point, it's not set in stone. This is our proposed, what we can show people is out there. Now, if someone came in and said, well, I need 3 acres, or I need 2 acres, we can definitely accommodate to that, because they would be the first person. I'm not positive if you guys have seen some of our pamphlets that we also take to these shows that we do. You can pass those around and look at those. We've really got a lot in Devil's Lake happening, or that is going to be able to get us to play in this UAV industry with Camp Grafton as well. Camp Grafton is already talking with some of the larger UAS industry players that are in North Dakota, or even looking at North Dakota, because they have airspace that they own around Camp South that they can utilize for laser testing and things like that. We're hoping that if we put some of these pieces together, that we'll eventually get something to land in Devil's Lake. We obviously know we're not going to get the Northrop Grumman or General Atomics; those are going to Grand Sky, and we're not expecting that. But we want to get some of those businesses that are not at the Grand Sky capacity, that could be within 80 miles of Grand Sky, and utilizing our community as well. We are also additionally looking at working with UND Aerospace. We'll be meeting next week with Doug Darling from the college, John Nord from the airport, myself and Terry Johnson are going to meet with Paul Linseth from UAS or UND Aerospace to talk about, is there a possibility that they could utilize our airport and maybe expand their pilot training program that they're at capacity for at UND. So we're gonna have those discussions. Additionally, on the other side of those brochures, I also have included marketing material for our, the building out in the industrial park. So we're promoting that, marketing that. I've also gone on the Canadian Manufacturers Coalition websites and got email addresses off of there and have sent them this brochure that's more in detail of what we have to offer with that building. What's kind of being discussed out there at the state level is that there's a number of Canadian manufacturers that are interested in getting to the United States so that they can have the Made in US stamp on their products. So try to get the information that we do have a building sitting here and we're if they're interested in coming. Additionally, on the marketing side of it, I put together, and I'm hoping this will be used in the future and be very accommodating. When people come and meet with me on their businesses, it's like drinking from a fire hose. I give them so much information, usually they come back 2 or 3 times because they didn't catch it all or what have you. This, I laid it out between tax incentive, workforce programs, financing, and additional resources to where we can check mark which programs they qualify for, and then they can take it back and really absorb what information I did provide to them. But you guys can pass that around if you'd like as well, and so that'll be available to work with people. And then last but not least, I did put in my resignation, and my last day will be December 20th. So I appreciate working with all of you, and I appreciate the support I've received over the years from you guys.
Thank you, you've done a very good job. You've been, what, 3 years?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I think you've done a very good job. Trying to market this ultra-grade building is a very difficult task.
The biggest thing is it's so large. It's the largest vacant building in North Dakota right now for manufacturing space. So we gotta look at doing short-term, smaller leases in the, breaking the building up, like they done with Dakota driving, but they have a 2-month clause saying, we can give you a 2-month notice and you have to leave. So then at least if someone large does come, you have the ability to get your building back.
What are they using for storage?
Yeah.
Just storage, strictly storage.
Yeah, they're the storage totes.
Yeah.
So it's all already processed, all you need is see the place to keep stuff inside.
It'd be dusty though.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some dust.
Rachel, when I was at the drone, we had a conference for the commissioners, and they did a drone seminar. And when I sat in on that, they were talking about creating a corridor of space between Grand Forks and Fargo where drones could fly legally beyond line of sight. And then they were talking about potentially, should that work out, to expand. Is Devil's Lake one of the sites that they were thinking to expand a beyond line of sight drone program to? Because I imagine that would be huge for this.
It would be huge. There's discussion saying that we need a corridor between Grand Forks and all the way to Minot, which would include us. Additionally, they were looking at a corridor that would go from Grand Sky to Camp Grafton South, so that they can do their testing there and things like that, that would possibly encompass all the way up to the airport. So those discussions are all taking place. And what they're saying right now is anybody who is getting their name in the game and going to these conferences and being exposed and making sure that your name is out there, there's so much development that's going to take place in the future that you're going to get some sort of action within this industry. So that's our biggest thing, is just making sure everybody knows, A, knows Devil's Lake's name, and B, knows what we have to offer, and that we're willing to work, large or small businesses into our community.
How does the military stand on them open corridors?
They are actually they're quite open to it. Actually, Camp Grafton has had way more development into this for a longer period of time than we have as a community here. They've been working with it probably almost as early as Grand Sky has with them. So. And this industry has been in North Dakota for 10 years now. It doesn't seem like it, but it has been 10 years. It's evolved to this. It's very infancy stage, so when it opens up and when some of the FAA regulations get caught up to really let the industry grow, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be really exciting to be a part of it.
Minot Air Force Base and Grand Forks Air Force Base, they're kinda on board with this?
I'm not sure about Minot, but Grand Forks is yes, because Grand Sky is attached to the Grand Forks Air Force Base. Yeah. For the most part, what we're hearing is, like it or not, it's coming, so.
Well, I'm not
And-
against it.
No, I'm saying like, I think that's kind of what, and even up into the military, headquarters and things like that, they're really, because they've been using it for a long time.
We're on tape, but I mean, you can see how it could be misused.
Oh, absolutely. So the military side of it is already taking on and having, works on the counter drone technology, which is meaning being able to figure out how to access drones from, I don't know if you want to say opponents or the opposite side, and taking it over and stopping it before it were to have an impact on us. So it's incredible what's going on in the industry. And it's everything from, so the one in Fargo that we went to, it was on the practical use, everyday user like you and I. So driving cars that are driving themselves. They're talking about, in the future it's gonna be that we don't even own cars anymore. It's gonna be like Uber that drives itself. You call a car and it comes and picks you up, it drops you up where you need to go, and then it goes and gets the next person. It's just crazy. But then when you go to the Grand Forks Summit or the UAV Expo, when I went to it in Las Vegas, it was more of the large scale users of Northrop Grumman, General Atomics, or military application is what those were focused on. So that, and actually when I was in the Fargo conference, it hit home when he said, well, we've been doing this for years already in the farming and egg industry with, combines driving themselves and things like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's been really in front of our face all along. And don't think of it as that, but it's just expanding beyond some of what we've already got in place here, so it's pretty crazy. And then they were talking like even parking lots will be very minimal. So when we talk about we need to create parking downtown and things like that, they're kind of saying hold up and don't spend a lot of money on that, because come 10, 15 years from now, you're gonna have a parking lot on the outside of your town because the car's gonna drop you off at the front of the store and go park in the parking lot. It doesn't care that it's a mile away.
And not just that, but go to that parking lot and charge itself
Yep.
so that it's usable for the next person. It's.
And park so that it's so close that it doesn't have to let people in or out, because there aren't people getting in and out there.
More spaces.
It's the craziest thing, Ed.
They'll have to have a farmer's market.
Oh. I'm serious. I went to this conference and in the
Get a
first
haul
half
fuel
of it,
tank and your tools or.
I was thinking, these people are crazy, but by the end of it, I drank the Kool-Aid and I came home and was telling all of our friends all about the great things that are happening, and then they're looking at me like, you're nuts. And I'm like, yeah, it does sound kind of nuts, but I can see it all happening.
But we can all see the misuse of it.
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
Just terrorists and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah,
What
so,
direction should, answer this question for me,
Mhm.
since you're leaving, what direction should Ramsey County take in, being able to use forward those like more?
you guys have always been good when it comes to when I come and ask for things or needed resources. You guys have been great. I think probably some of my biggest challenges were the lack of program funding. It's really hard to compete with other communities on, like.
It is?
When we put the flex funding program on hold, the multifamily housing program on hold, and things like that. We don't have things to offer, but we have the building now. That's an asset. That's a huge asset for us. The other thing, for the most part, it was a really good job.
How much funding are you short when you talk about lack of funding for, to attract people? to Come here for economic development.
Like when Biofiber came, we weren't able to offer them anything, and there was just kind of the standpoint, we've been burned in the past, so we're just not gonna do anything. That is hard when you're holding people to a standard because of past experiences, so.
What kind of money are you talking then? What, a million or? how
No.
much- Not much money you talking?
No, it would be nice if you could, if there was some grant options available, because everybody, and they're starting new businesses, they don't have the money to get rolling, I've discussed doing a facade improvement grant for the Renaissance area or the downtown 4th and 4th. That way, if a business, instead of just handing a business a grant and letting them use it for what they would like, it'd be nice to have it attached to the exterior of a building, so if they close, the next person has an updated building. And that could definitely make your downtown look a lot nicer, and those buildings are really expensive,
Have you ever used a bank in North Dakota? Have you ever worked with them?
lots.
And
That
they're
was
very
all of our,
receptive to a lot of ideas?
oh, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and Bank North Dakota is excellent to work with. And all of our banks locally have been really, really good to work with. I've worked with all of them except for US Bank and the credit union, as far as our programs. So, they've been great. Locally, we've got a lot of support.
You talk about grant money, and you'd have to receive that through the North Dakota Bank, you know.
Or you,
Is there, do we need to work on our legislators to try to get money funneled through the Bank of North Dakota to improve economic development, not only in Fargo, Grand Forks, but Devils Lake, Jamestown,
Yeah.
smaller towns in North Dakota?
Would it be safe to say that does exist, it's just that Devil's Lake is sort of behind the 8 ball on all of this?
some of it exists, but with last legislative season, a lot of it got cut.
Got
The
cut.
loans are still there. There's that, and you'll see that in that financing application, there's a lot of, different loan options or funding options. And there's even like the Dakota CDC in Fargo, it's a private organization, but they will do a lot more of your startups. So it's just basically knowing and understanding who to send people to, what fits their, you know, if they're an established business and looking at expanding, go through the Bank of North Dakota because you're gonna get a better interest rate. But if you're 26 years old, you know, don't have a lot of collateral in your name, things like that, but you want to start this business and it sounds like a good idea for the community, get them to Dakota CDC because they can help.
Yeah.
And we have leverage on that because Mike Connor sits on that board, so he's been really good to support Devil's Lake through those efforts.
Rachel, before you go, will you talk a little bit about what Jamestown is doing for economic development?
Jamestown's really active, extremely active. They have a number of staff members, so they, you know, they'll have someone that's focused on marketing and someone that's focused on business development and then running the organization. So they've got a lot of tools and they're able to put a lot of funding towards these programs. They have, I believe it's a half-cent sales tax goes towards program funding. So, I mean, that's when I say, you know, it gets hard when we get 7% of a half cent is what we have for program use. You know, and it not saying that maybe if something came along that they couldn't figure out some money to put towards it like they did with Ultra Green, but you know what? There's definitely an ability to improve on every organization, every program that's being utilized, not just economic development. So something to look at. And they just hired someone to come in, Paul Lucy, who I highly respect him. He's really good. He was the economic development director for the state through most of when I've been here. He just retired. You know, he's doing a consulting avenue with his business. So he's coming in and he's gonna look at our economic development program and see where our inefficiencies are and what we can do to better ourselves or help ourselves. And I also think then, like I told the board on Thursday, I said, you know, it would have been really nice when I came in to have a book that said, here's our priorities, here's how we do it, here's what programs we should have in place, and here's how to take it. Basically an owner's manual saying, here you go and now just run it. That would have been great. Because honestly, when you walk in here and you don't know anything that's going on or what's happening, it's a year struggle to try and just figure out what direction you're going or what you're even supposed to talk about. That's the unfortunate part. So if you can give someone a head start so we don't lose as much momentum, that'd be good.
Be kind of a guideline,
Yes,
blueprint.
that would be nice.
So, can you help the Ramsey County and tell us what we should do then, or
Ramsey County, I think.
stay involved in forward?
Absolutely, I think you need to make sure that you're an equal player with the city and that it's, you know, it's not just one running it and the other sitting back. I think when I started, you guys seemed to be more involved, and this, I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's with the city moving me to the city offices, and so you're right there, and some of that. That could definitely. I tried to come to the meetings as much as possible, and
Is there directors out there who take your position? There are people to hire. Is there?
yeah, there's already showing some interest in the position. I mean, it's a well-paid professional position in the community, so there aren't a lot of those that open up. So I think you're definitely gonna get some activity in it, and hopefully, even if it's not the exact person coming in with a whole bunch of credentials and a lot of experience, if they get this roadmap done.
Is Chris still in Minot? He is. How's it going for him?
I'm not positive.
Okay, I just asked.
Yeah, no,
I haven't seen him for a while.
I haven't either, no.
Since he left, I guess. Well, it's sad to see you leave. I mean, I think you're getting it moving in the right direction.
Thank you.
Oh, James sounds very progressive as far as,
It's extremely
I brought
aggressive.
that up.
Yeah.
Haven Fish Farms down there processing potatoes. City helped them a bunch.
Yeah.
To get going, and it's a very viable, you know.
Yeah, they
business now.
tend to step out on the limb a little bit more than the rest of us. But they don't touch retail, that's the difference with Jamestown, they got so much activity in their, other developments that they don't have to do with retail at all. I think Devil's Lake's a little bit different, that we have to look at quality of life things a little bit closer than they do. Some of the stuff that I'm afraid we're seeing people leave our community is because of quality of life factors. And we need to start making that a focus. I really tried to put a lot of energy into childcare and housing, with the focus that maybe it will help our workforce. I'm a business owner in the community too, and in fact, my husband just was having a venting session on me yesterday about trying to find employees here. It's hard, it's really, really hard. And we aren't gonna get people to move here when they already have the jobs in their community. So,
Well,
we can
and
alleviate.
they won't stick,
No,
right? So, I mean, we've gotten people to move here, and they live here for a year, 2 years, and they decide it's not for them.
yeah.
Which is too bad, because this is a great community, it's just we need those sticky things.
Another thing I would say, if it's someone moving out of town, from out of town coming here, on all organizations, I think we've learned this with the Heritage Center and the library directors that recently left, I think we need to be better about embracing them and getting them involved in our communities. I kind of tried to take the initiative on my own and just get involved, and part of that was my kids' ages, it helped me get involved with other parents to get to meet people, and you know, your kids get you to do that. Well, if you come here from out of town and you don't have any kids to get you involved and to meet some of those parents and organizations, and it's a kind of a lonely
Where you go to
community.
them and you don't feel welcome.
Yeah, it's a lonely community.
Yeah.
When we first moved here, it was, if it went to my husband having a tie to Camp Grafton, we wouldn't have known anyone.
We hear that quite often with the staff at the school that leaves. You know, they'll come for a year or two and out of college, and then they're going to a bigger community or going to another community, and those are part of the reasons that they leave.
It's a, you know, and then also, you know, there's some consideration with people that aren't from here. They don't have parents as resources, and, you know, you know, for example, for me last night, my husband's, this is a busy season, well, I couldn't go to city commission because we don't have grandparents to take kids, and it's a struggle when you're not from here, and I think most people are from Devil's Lake, and so your families are here, and there's just that system already in place, and it's not easy when you first move here from out of town.
And, you know, and of course, this is, I suppose every demographic believes that they have it the worst, but I really truly believe that for young professionals, people like me that are unmarried, don't have kids, you know, there's no reason for me to be at a sporting event, there's no reason for, so how do I meet people?
Yeah.
You know, and especially if I wasn't from here, to your point. And I think that that's a really critical factor, because single people become married people, and people without children have children, right? And so, if we're not attracting that demographic, we won't get the other demographic, at least not in the way that we need to.
You know, my annual meeting speaker last year was Greg Devine, and he had some really neat ideas like what Fargo does, and it's basically, think of the weirdest thing and do it. It's basically what it comes down to. You know, like Fargo held a midnight dinner in the alley in their downtown. The tickets sold out like crazy, just because it was something different, people wanted to do it. And I think we're almost missing that community person that does things like that, you know, that gives Devil's Lake its own definition.
Yeah, I agree with you. You think there's enough housing in town?
You know, I thought there was, but recently it's been coming about that, I heard it from one real estate agency that they're low on their permanent housing numbers. So their house is out for sale. so they need some more supply. Additionally, I've heard from a couple of the people who have a large investment in rental property here. Two of them have mentioned that the housing for rental, I mean, they fill up instantly for the 2 and 3 bedroom locations. The 1 bedrooms, I think, are seeing vacancies, which, I mean, you're standard if you got a family of any sort, and usually even a single person sometimes wants a 2nd bedroom. So the 24-plex apartment that Forward has done is underway and should be open in the spring. That I think will be a huge incentive to the community, and it'll be a really nice addition. It'll be like a Fargo or Grand Forks apartment building with balconies and detached garages, and not just a building that's been modified and turned into a house turned into 2 apartments or something like that. It'll be a really nice addition to the community.
Thanks for getting all that daycare going for us.
189 spots is what we've influenced the last 2 years, so that's exciting. Thank you. Yeah, the center is wonderful, and I say that from personal experience, and I hear from the other parents that are there. I mean, it is dream come true for Devils like to have that. And talking with them, they're financially doing very well, and actually they're nervous about, well, why didn't it work for the other people? What's gonna? But for example, they, I told them, I said, you run it like a business. There is no staying if you don't pay your bills. There's no, I forgot my check, none of that, so you run it like a business. Additionally, they had the rooms laid out for toddler and preschool. Well, their numbers came in and they started to grow in one and not the other, so they swapped the rooms so that they could continue growing. Whereas I think previously we would have just kept it as status quo because, well, this is the toddler room. We'll just tell them that they can't come, we don't have room for them. So they definitely, they're very good at running business, and it's very nice. So they'll be at 53 kids in January. Right now they're at 49. I believe those other 4 are expectant moms that are already within the daycare.
I don't know, Adam and me, we sit on the social service board, we hear through there, and then all pretty good.
Yeah.
Seem to be working out real well.
Very happy with it.
Clean every time, when you walk in at the end of the day, there's always someone with a mop in their hand and someone with a dust rag in their hand. And when you walk in with your kids, you wash their hands before they can go to their rooms. I mean, it's great.
That's good. That's good.
It's a good idea. They won't bring it home to me.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the help, Dan.
Yes, you're welcome. Yes, it's been fun working with all of you.
You're coming back in December, right?
Yeah, well, December 20th is when I'm doing here, but
Come to the first
yeah,
meeting.
I will. But I'm gonna be heading to Daniels and Burdick, so I'll stay in the community as a tax accountant, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Report on portfolios. We'll start with Lucas today.
Thanks, Peter. I know that you were unable to attend the Heritage Center meeting, so I hope you don't mind if I speak on behalf of that. Last night, the Heritage Center discussed advertising for a new position, which would essentially be the role of director, but with a little bit better delineated job description. And specifically, they'd be looking for someone who could write grants and be an events coordinator to try to get bodies in the door. Because I think one of the things that's universally been stated about the Heritage Center is that it feels like kind of a dead place, a mausoleum instead of a museum. And I think that as we go forward, museums need to have a certain vitality and vibrancy and activities that are going on within them to attract people to look at the exhibits themselves. And so that's been a little bit of a mindset shift that I think has gone on with respect to the board of the Heritage Center over the last year. And I think that really good things will be coming down the pike. One of the things that I suggested at the board meeting last night was that we reach out to District Health, which I intend to right after this, because I know that Al McKay is bringing on a grant writer, and that grant writer does it for many different organizations and is reimbursed out of the administrative portion of the grants that they obtain. So it's entirely performance-based, there is no salary, and I felt that potentially if this grant writer had time to write grants on behalf of the Heritage Center, that would be a really good way to increase revenue while not adding a bottom line expense. So hopefully we can find some additional synergies with respect to that. We had our district health board meeting just a little bit ago, and we were pleased that we were able to work out an agreement with Altru to have, to continue to have a medical officer from there, because there was some concern about that, and they had to sort of renegotiate everything. That's all taken care of, and I think going forward it'll work out just fine. We hired a new library director. His name is Jared Tolman. He's living in Indiana, and he will begin effective January 1st of 2018. Really well-spoken guy, a lot of experience. You know, he's done it all. And when we interviewed him, we were all, you know, universally really impressed. So we reached out to him, we extended the job offer, he had some questions, and so I'll be in communication with him as we bring him up to speed, and I think that that'll be really good for the library. I don't know that I have anything else.
Should hire him before there was snow on the ground.
Yeah, snuck it in.
Where'd you say he's from?
I think he was originally from Utah. I don't know that for sure, but that's where his schooling background was from, and he had some work experience there. But he lives in Indiana, so I'm probably familiar with a little bit of snow anyway.
Utah. Okay. Me?
You're next.
Social services quiet, I guess. Not much to report there. The jail, we're looking forward to our state inspector coming again this month. We're not sure when. There's been a great deal of work done out there, great deal. They went about the process of getting the inmates to do a lot of the work, and they really bought into it, having the state. They're taking some pride in place, and I think that's improving in morale. We've had some good leadership from the administrators and the captain, and even from Dan Kraft from the reentry and everything, so I think it's coming along. We've got the areas that the state inspector was concerned about, we got them pretty well finished. Medical area and some.
I think it's way better.
It seems to be going much better, much better. So we're looking forward to that when he comes back, and then for keeping the board filled in and fix the fence where the last escape happened. They got that done before the weather turned on us. So everything seems to be improving. Attitudes, it seems like it's a lot better. Like I said, seems like they're bringing some pride to the place. So, other than that, look at this.
Okay. Jeff?
Well, you know, we heard from Bill with the extension and what he's busy with. The extension roundup's gonna be another good form of education. Let's see, we got the Water Commodore Award for Governor Dalrymple that Commissioner Brown recommended. That's in and submitted. We'll hopefully hear on that coming up shortly. I know the deadline was 1st of November. So we got that in. We did get a nomination for a Water Stewardship Award, and we chose a winner on that. Former Water Commissioner and County Commissioner Arnie Bird was selected for that
Good
award.
choice.
Yeah, we're very pleased with that, and I know Sheriff Nelson has a few things, and instead of me stumbling over what he's got, we'll let him tell you all about it.
I only have one, so it'll be short and sweet, I think. But I guess I'd like the board's permission to, within my current year's budget, I'd like to use whatever I can to start ordering stuff for the new position. That way I know what I can get a little bit done this year, so we can save if I can get it ordered on the new price, on the price, if our prices go up. Like the in-car video, I think I have enough to order that, it's about it's almost $5,000. Portables, taser, you know, you don't think anything, but a taser on it by itself is like $1,100 just to buy one. So I mean, and of course everything over 1,000, of course I have to get through. But I'd like the board's permission to go ahead and start ordering some of that. As long as I work with them, I'm gonna work with Candy and stay inside our current budget, so I'm not anywhere close to going over, so. But I just like the ability to start to get some of that if I can on our current budget, and get a little head start on it. So I guess that's what I'm requesting, is if I got to go ahead and do that.
Do we need a motion for that? So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Brett,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Lightcon.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye, motion carried.
Thank you.
Steve, have you hired somebody?
No, we don't start till January 1, so we're probably gonna start putting out application openings probably by the end of this week. Probably looking at doing interviews the first part of December to hire by January, whatever the first Monday in January is. It's kind of the timeline that I'm looking for.
You're still getting pretty good sized classes coming out of that.
Yeah, most of them are being sent though. I mean, you know, like that's the whole point behind them moving to Fargo and Bismarck, and you know, those agencies are kind of filling them up. And then if they have 5 spots, they might put 5 extra people in. So I haven't had a chance to talk with Maritado yet, but there's usually a couple out there, but you know, we'll see. We'll just have to see what we have available. Like I said, when we hire, they have to be graduated or licensable. You know, so that kind of eliminates the general population applying. But we just can't afford the expense of paying for somebody to be in Bismarck for 3 months. You know, that's on our dime. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of the school academy. So I mean, it's kind of hard to, you know, Joe Blow coming off the street wants to be caught. Good for you, we'll go through the academy first, because I can't afford to send you, because we don't get our money's worth out of you when you're sitting in Bismarck for, I think it's 12 weeks now, so. But anyway, so that's our timeline for that. Our new office manager is working fantastic. I got a text from Connie on Sunday. They were in South Dakota, so she officially left the state. So
She was excited to go.
yeah.
She was, I can see that.
Anyway, but Stephanie's taken over. We're already working on streamlining some of the things. She's already been working with Candy and Nathan and getting some of the book work that we can update. You know, somebody that's been there for 30 years before computers even started, and you know, there's a lot of things that we can update, so I think they've been working on that, so everything's doing very well, except we're busier than busy. It's kind of tough to get things done, but this new person's gonna help quite a bit. I might have to have another one, to be honest with you, at some point down the road here soon, so.
Yeah, made it for Connie's party, and you could see that she was a little sad to go.
She's pretty torn,
She
she's pretty
was-
torn,
She
but,
was ready, you could see it.
you know, but she was ready to go, and the grandbabies are taking a pretty heavy
Yes.
toll on especially since there's another one due here in December, I think, so.
Never tends to do
Other than that, I don't, unless there's any questions, everything else is going well, we're managing, so.
I know you have a lot of experience in hiring people, but don't be afraid to use our HR resource that we have. That's what she's there for, so. And I knew that you're coming in for equipment, and I think it's great that you're able to utilize some of this year's budget for some of that, so.
Well, then if I don't have to use it next year, I can always go back to,
Right.
we've always turned back, I think, pretty much, we never really go over, but I figured, well, I think this is the point in time that we are frugal with our money and get it at a better price, because we can use current year pricing. And I'm probably also gonna look at, well, the state hasn't issued their new vehicle bid yet. So I usually wait till the state gets there, so I have a base price when I go to my local dealers and say, here's what state bid price is, see what you can do, kind of thing. So I'm probably gonna be doing that here in the near future, just, you know, so get ready to order for next year. So but I usually I don't know what that price is gonna be this year yet, but, so.
How much of the fleet are we replacing?
One, but we're buying one new one for the new deputy, so.
Sure.
So I'm getting 2. So the cycle originally was to get one every 5 years, so it'll be 1 a year. Well, then 1 year we got a grant money, so we got 2. Well, the mileage, when it turns out, once those cars get to about 135, 140,000 miles, they start to nickel and dime us with all the little sensors and this goes and that goes. So we've been very lucky, knock on wood, if I can find something here, but you know, that's about the time that we're ready to replace that car. So we've really been able to not have a lot of expense on our vehicles by doing that way. So the new cycle will be, we'll have to buy one, every other year we'll have to buy 2 to keep up with,
Rotation.
Yeah, so
so it'll be 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, you know, something along that, whatever that line is, so, you know, just to kind of keep the, and then we kind of adjust that by according to what the mileage is what they're, you know, we might hold off on one for a year because it's a little lower in mileage. Then, you know, and then wait till the next year, you know, so I can't really say it's gonna be every year we're gonna, it just depends. And sometimes you have a lemon that we wanna get rid of too, so. We haven't had any of those yet either, so. That's kind of our plan anyway, as far as vehicles, we try to just get as much as we can as out of them, so.
Okay.
And then we'll keep one as a spare that we use for our transport car, and in case the car breaks down, it's nice to have a spare. But I'm pulling a lot of, well, even today now, we got it's frustrating, but the court decided they wanted one of my deputies in the courtroom all day today for this trial. They told me at 4:45 last night. Well, I don't have any extra people to put up there today. And if I would've known last week, I could've, you know, no big deal with them, so. For example, now I'm calling it in somebody else, I'm calling our task force guy, that's our employee. He's gonna be in uniform being a deputy up in court today because I don't have anybody else available. Because I have to go to Grand Forks and pick up the doctor that's testifying tomorrow. Figure it out, anyway, long story. And that's the frustrating part, it's things like that are monumental, but it's required, you know, and it's just like, you know, you can't really just not do it, but it's not earth-shattering, or, you know, it's just,
Just takes your time.
well, juvenile court called yesterday morning and said, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you, we gotta go give a juvenile in Grand Forks and have him back here for a hearing tomorrow today at 3 o'clock. This was yesterday morning at 9 o'clock. So I gotta find, and then take them back, by the way. It's, you know, those are the things that creep up that just kind of drive you, anyway. Just kind of explain, kind of probably too much, I didn't want to know that much.
No, that's why you need more help.
Exactly, and it's happening more often than we, you know, than it is, so. But everything else is going pretty good, we're doing, everything just seems to be running smoothly, so.
Good.
That's all I have.
Thank you so much.
That's it. That's it. That puts Adam up to bat.
I don't have anything to talk about. Rachel was here and kind of covered everything from the Fort Devils Lake perspective. County Housing Authority meeting will be next week. I wasn't able to go the last week because we were in Bismarck that week, so I missed our meeting last month since we were in Bismarck for the Association of Counties. I've actually been there for a couple of months, so it's been nothing crazy, but I haven't heard anything. Social services, not much to report. Meeting last month was pretty straightforward. We're trying to do some capital purchases there by the end of the year, kind of similar to what Steve's doing with the Sheriff's Department. We're replacing some computers and stuff like that at the end of the year and getting that taken care of. Since we figured it'd be good to get that in this year's budget before we roll into next year with the state funding thing going on, so get that taken care of. I suppose we'll be talking about fund overages we have, and probably pulling those back to the general at some point, I guess. Figuring out how we're gonna do that, but that'll be a little further now. Other than that, that's about it. And then we'll have a lot of talk with us.
I actually just thought of one more thing that I should probably mention, seeing as they made me chairperson, but the Home Rule Charter Committee had its first meeting, and I want to give a special thanks to Candy for all of the work that she's done on that behalf, especially putting together booklets for all of the members of the committee with respect to what was done in the past. And the first meeting was mostly just getting everybody on the same page, I think, so that people understand what it is that we're attempting to accomplish. and what their responsibilities will be. For the next meeting, the main topic of discussion on the agenda will be thoughts and reactions with respect to the previous Ramsey County Home Rule Charter Committee's findings. So we asked everyone on the committee to read up on what was done before so that we're all informed and have an understanding for that. I would expect that over the next couple of months, 2-3 months, we'll be talking about those findings and then be looking at contemporary examples of home rule in other counties across the state. After that point, I think that it would be reasonable to assume that we will begin work on discussing and then drafting a charter should we find that Ramsey County could use one. So I guess that's all that I have on that.
Yeah, and we're going to, after discussing previous work, then we'll look at other counties' charters as well at the same time. Cass County just updated theirs in 16. Burley Morton are fairly recently adopted theirs in 13, I believe it was. Both counties did. So there's some good representation of, it's not like we're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
It's a pretty I shouldn't say standard, but there's ways in there to do different things, but it's a fairly standard format, so.
Walsh County has it, right?
Yeah, but theirs is actually one of the older ones. I think theirs is like 86 or something like that.
So I think it's the second one that's one.
Yeah, there's 13 different counties in the state, I believe.
Richland is
Richland's the oldest.
Richland is the oldest.
Yeah, the Walsh, Steele,
Stutzman?
Stutzman,
Grand
Burley,
Forks, Burley and Morton both have it.
and it's kind of interesting the different things that are in each one. In terms of the options to give more power to the commission to do certain things versus not, and things like that. Like Cass County, the commission has the ability to, by ordinance, not even a vote of the people, to downsize elected offices. And they just, actually, I don't know if they ever did it, did they?
I think it's.
But they were talking about it.
Yeah.
So there's, so there's different options, in terms of comprehensive scope versus limited scope and those kind of
Yeah,
things.
there's a lot of different things to it.
So that'll be, I'm sure we'll have plenty of discussion about the differences and what we should be looking at or possibly might be looking at.
And then the other thing that I feel we should bring up is that the charter committee is required to give a public hearing, at least one prior to its dissolution. So we'll probably be looking at doing that sometime mid to late next year. And I hope by that point we would have essentially a finalized document to be talking about.
I guess that would be one question I would have for the commission here as a whole, is that when would our, if we draft something as a committee and we determine that it's something that the county should look at and we should pass it on to the full commission, when would we be looking at possibly putting it to a vote of the people, the next general election? Just for deadline's sake, in terms of when do we need to have work done?
Good question,
Because, we'll have a deadline set off of when the ballots need to be, put in, and that's what, 60 days previous or 90 days previous?
I haven't gotten a calendar.
No, but it's sometime in summer though,
Yeah.
after the, because we have the June primary, and then it's probably August or something, we would have it.
But, then to just ask a functional question, let's say that by that point we had determined that in fact we did want to take it to a vote. Would we need to have the document itself finalized by that point? Or could we decide that we just wanted to have a vote on home rule? You understand what I'm saying? And that the document could potentially still be worked on. Obviously, you'd want to give everybody enough time to look it over and discuss it, but
That's a good
I
question.
think you get so many questions, well, what's in a home rule?
Well,
If you don't have your document pretty much finalized before you put it to the people.
Well, we have to have it finalized before then, but I understand where you're coming from, is could we decide that it's something we're going to want to go for?
and it's going to be on the ballot. It's just
Well-
that the document itself may not be
Well,
totally done at that point.
I guess in my estimation, the best way to do it is gonna be, is the commission as a whole here is going to have to approve that it's going to go on the ballot in a completed format. Previous to the deadline, it has to get onto the ballot.
Right.
You guys met once,
We've met once and we're meeting again tomorrow.
after 3 or 4, you know, you're gonna meet quite often, a couple weeks, every couple of weeks or months.
Well, we haven't formalized that either, but we were thinking at least once a month.
Yeah, at least once a month, probably every 2-3 weeks. I mean, when was our first one? Probably 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Just 2.5 weeks ago.
So, you know, and it,
2 or 3, you know, wait 3, 4 more meetings, and then you probably have a better idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll abandon it, I don't know, you know, maybe
Right.
you'll see.
Well, then that's
You
why we
don't need
wanted
for it, or I don't know, but
to
you'll get
do all
more
this due
feel
diligence.
yeah.
what possibly could be done.
And in all honesty, looking at timelines from other counties and reading their minutes, it's usually for about a 6-month process, 6 to 8 months, kind of going through the process and looking.
And then I seem to remember, and this is me probably misremembering century code, but even if we gave the commission a finalized charter that the committee had drafted, I think the commission is allowed to bring that to the vote anytime within 2 years. I think that there's a shelf life that's fairly generous.
I just want to, my intent would be, the thought process would be, I'd want to couple it with another election simply because then we would defray the cost of having a special election.
Sure.
Because that's gonna, you know, so obviously the June primary is not something that's going to occur, but then it would be general 18 or the next general or next primary or scheduled election after that would be till 20, because we won't have anything in 19. So it's almost, we have to have it ready to go with general 18 or.
You know, the 2-year window would give you enough time to
Yeah,
play like you needed to. I think that's what it says in century code,
That's
but
not the question.
What's the committee's window, a year?
a year.
year.
So the committee is
The clock's on.
Yeah, the committee is effectively defunct as of October 3rd, 2018.
That was your first meeting?
That was when we empowered
That's
it.
when we empowered this commission, so we got 1 year to do our work. And like I said, it's a fairly standard format, so I mean, you start with that format, and especially since we're not starting from scratch, we have a document that's already been developed previously in the county by that previous committee, so we can kind of start from there and just, and then you almost just kind of plug and play and tweak and.
Right.
But those discussions of comprehensive versus limited are probably going to be a lot where we spend our time, I would guess.
And I'm really pleased because I could tell that we're gonna have a diverse set of opinions on this committee. I even had one of the committee members tell me as I walked out, we're not gonna agree on just about anything. I just figured out, and I said, that's okay, because I respect your opinion, and as long as we can respect each other, I hope that you'll disagree with me, and I hope that we can work out a stronger document as a result.
That's what all boards are like.
That's right.
Talk it out until you figure it out.
Somebody's taking minutes?
She was voluntold.
It was just-
Voluntold, that's right.
It was just kind of automatic, I sat down on my
You
chair
got
and
your
just
pen and
started
paper
writing.
with you.
Yeah, basically, it's like we're doing to appoint somebody to take minutes. Hey, Candy's already writing down. All right, she's
The
the
reason
one.
I asked, would it be beneficial for the other 3 commissioners to maybe receive the minutes or
I think we can make-
oversight of what you guys are talking about? You know, we can kind of follow along, not, you know,
It's open to the public too.
But I don't wanna come to your meetings, so.
Well, that's okay, but
No.
yeah, I mean, the minutes are public record too.
If I could sit down at home and I could, you know.
And in all honesty, I mean,
Yeah.
we'll keep everyone informed as it goes along, obviously, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad that we could
You know, then I
shoot
could
you the minutes out. That makes sense.
do it at my own time when I wanna read it, so.
Plus, it's winter now, we'll have, you know, staying, if we have to meet every 2 weeks or whatever, it's not that hard to get meetings in
Did you go? No.
There was actually only one member of the public at large that showed up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I was by phone because I was in the semi.
But I did tell, you know, I put it out on Facebook saying, hey, you know, if you're interested, please show up because it is open to the public. And when Candy and I set the agenda for the next meeting, we included a visitors and delegations portion for that too, because I think that that'll be important, especially once we start having a draft document. Guarantee you'll get people coming in with opinions. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Sure hope so, yep.
Yeah, everybody realizes it's a public meeting, so everybody can come.
Okay.
Is that it? That's all I have.
Nathan was a huge help too.
Yeah,
All
so
that
thank
stuff
you
that
to Nathan.
timely. We wanted to get it out to everybody so that they could have time to read it and look at it, and, yeah.
Okay, well, basically, everybody, all my portfolios have all been talked about, so I really don't have anything else to say. I mean, we had Kristen, we had Stacy, Kelly,
Did you ever get your other county stuff back? I know you were waiting on it, so. No. Waiting to finalize stuff. Look at this knocked out.
I am patiently waiting to spend a lot of hours.
You know what's coming.
Yeah,
Better than.
yeah.
I got a motion to adjourn, yeah.